So let's talk about what you're doing here. You're actually getting ready to lay out the envelope?
Yeah, what I'm doing is just laying the envelope over the frame, just making sure I have it lined up. With the rudder, there's no real top and bottom. The seam's going to go like directly over the bar, and the wire's going to come out to the right side. So what I do is I find someone else to do this stuff for me, actually. But kind of lay it out, and the envelope has some trouble fitting on there. So you're going to want to get it on there as good as you can. If you're yanking on it and pulling on it, trying to get it on there, there's a good chance you're going to stretch the fabric. And that's going to cause all sorts of problems for you later.
So, do you tuck these wires in before you start, or do you leave them out like that?
We tuck those in. Good point.
Okay, so you can get them afterwards if they're just tucked in.
Yeah. And I mean, we cut around this right here later, so
okay,
that should be fine. Usually you can't pull it too far past right here without having to make a relief cut, which is what I'm going to do now. So I'm making sure the fabric's on the seam the way I want it, here on the tip side.
Okay.
Lay it out flat.
Okay, all you're doing on the other end is just making sure that it fits tight.
Yeah, I'm just making sure I got my seam where I want it.
Okay, so how do we know where to start the seam here?
Where to start the seam?
Because you got this much of the seam.
You just want to know it's just got to be enough to where it'll fold over this tip here.
Okay.
So you don't need too much. Maybe it's different for each envelope.
Looks like you've got about 1.5 inches hanging over here.
Yeah, 1.5 inches, an inch would be great.
Okay. Inch or 1.5 inches.
I'm going to cut heading towards the 90-degree angle at the tip between the inboard and this tip bar here. And I'm not going to cut all the way to that end.
Okay, so you're going to make a cut at a 45-degree angle.
Yes.
Up to the end. And what that does is that going to relieve this so you can stretch it all the way around?
Yeah, it's going to relieve some of that tension.
Yeah, so you're going to cut the top and the bottom of the fabric.
Yeah, otherwise one side would have tension and the other wouldn't. And I'd be careful cutting all the way to the corner. Don't do it as much as you have to, because what ends up happening is as you stretch it and pull it over, your cut's going to shift a little bit. So you want that final cut to be right on that corner.
Oh, wow.
And that may have been the first time I've done that successfully in my first try.
Okay, so you can see what he's done here is he stretched it over as far as he could, got it to here. And then he made these relief cuts here that allows it to stretch the rest of the way around. And he did the relief cuts on both sides.
So now that you got the fabric over, you're going to get your clothespins and start.
So does the fabric glue to this tube at all? It doesn't.
To the outboard? No.
Okay, you don't put any glue on it.
No, we glue it to the inboard, and after you iron it, the tension will just hold it in place. So
okay.
You don't have to apply any glue here. It'll just make a big mess for it.
Okay.
So you're going to want to clip this seam, position it directly on top of the bar. And just as you go, maybe every inch or so.
Right.
Clothespin, right.
Okay.
You kind of want to stretch it as you go. I'm not really stretching it now just because it's laying out flat.
Right.
Later I'll be bracing it against something and stretching it.
you start pulling.
Now I start pulling just when it's not laying down totally flat. That's when I start pulling it. You just kind of pull as you go.
It's leaving some divots here that aren't going to matter.
That'll
all
iron
stretch out.
Yeah. You don't. I'm working with a medium fabric, which is more forgiving. Chances are they'll be working with the light fabric, right?
All medium.
All medium.
All the kits have medium fabric.
Okay. Great. So that should stretch out no problem.
So you see you've got this seam running right down the top of that tube all the way around.
Yeah. And there are points on the fabric where you have, on the frame, where you have ribs and such like that.
Right.
You're going to want to make sure you get a clothespin directly on each side of that. Because what will end up happening is when you iron it, tighten it up, the fabric's probably going to pull one way or another. And you can adjust that later, which I'll show you. But it's difficult to adjust it when it's directly over a rib. You probably can't see from that angle, but there's a rib running right here.
Right.
So I'm putting a clothespin on each side of it.
Oh, I see.
And making sure that that seam is directly over that bar on that rib.
So we've got a rib coming down the middle right here. And Pierce is making sure that we have a clothespin on each side of that. Not on top of the rib. And they're within a ½ inch on each side of that. So
Yeah. The closer you can get to better without affecting the layout.
And we're going to do that on every single rib that goes across. So we'll have a rib here, we'll have a rib there, 2 more down there. So.
And the outboard bar actually extends through here, so there's one right here.
Right. So we have the main rudder spar coming through here, and we've got a clothespin on each side of that.
So that's what you call that. The spar.
Yeah.
The spar.
And we're just using just standard wooden clothespins, work the best. You can get them anywhere. You're going to need probably, and you use these on the elevator and the rudder.
Yes.
So when you're doing elevators, you're probably going to need 75 of them, 100 of them.
Yeah, your guess is that's about there. You know, you're gonna need quite a bit. The more you use, the better your fabric's gonna stay in place when you iron. So I use a lot. Not everyone uses that much, but. Right about here, there's the light fixture that goes here. It's the same concept with the ribs. You want to get the seam directly over the center of that light fixture. You're going to want to pull it tight if you can. Get a clothespin on each side of that.
Okay. So you're making sure, because there was a wire that was, what this navlight wire was kind of in the edge here. You want to make sure you don't get that hooked into the...
Yeah, it's kind of on the fabric here.
Okay, so you're just going to continue to put your clothespins on all the way around.
And towards the end here, you should have some slack because you've been pulling the fabric tight all the way around.
Right.
What you're going to do with that, you're just going to keep pulling it Go as far as you can so you get towards the end here. And then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to grab a fresh razor blade.
Okay, and we can't stress enough about fresh razor blades.
Yeah, you want a sharp blade, that way you're not fighting it. Because if you're fighting it, you're gonna slip, you're gonna cut the fabric, you can cut yourself. It's just a lot easier to get a nice sharp blade. You're gonna trim just along both seams, just a little bit at a time. And all you're doing is you're getting this slack out of here. So I trimmed maybe about a quarter of an inch at a time, and then I pull it and see how much I have left.
Okay. Better to trim just a little bit than to trim too much and end up with
Absolutely.
a gap.
You want to avoid that, definitely you can. You can always trim more later. So the closer you get to it being tight, the less and less you're going to trim each time.
So you're going to trim it all the way down to where you get
Just to that end bar there.
the fabric actually goes clear to the end.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you're just going to pin it in place. If you have tension on this end here and maybe you can't get your seam directly over the bar, you can go back and maybe cut a little bit more on that relief cut.
Okay.
Just make sure you don't go past that tip there.
So right now you can see that we've got the seam, the sewn seam running all the way up. It's right on the edge of the tube, same amount of distance as on the other side. So we're ready to move on.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
That's one of the hard parts of this, is to get the seam fitting perfectly before you move on to gluing tubes and cutting around stuff.
So when you start gluing, you're going to glue with the left side up. Okay, so the left side's going to be up. So the way you know that is the wire is going to come out on the right side. So you want the wire to be coming out on the bottom.
Okay, so we're gluing left side up. So you're sitting in the airplane, left side, that's going to be the left side of the rudder.
Just kind of want to position some weights on your rudder so that you can pull tension down.
Okay.
And I'm going to mark right to my tip here. Actually, a good thing to do is to iron the fabric. Make sure you have a nice clean iron.
Again, we're cleaning the iron.
I'm just scraping it with the flat of the razor blade. And I'm just using sandpaper.
Okay, all the videos you've seen this, scraping with the razor blade and then using sandpaper to clean it off. Wipe it with a rag so that you have a clean foot on the iron.
You don't want to carry over any of that junk, that glue or dope that you were using. And I'm just going to iron this corner here right on the tip, the corner of the inboard, and this bar right here.
Okay.
And I'm going to be careful not to iron too far inside of the bar because I want to shrink that later.
But as you run the iron down it, where you're doing it right now, it shrinks everything tight so you don't have wrinkles in the seam when you're gluing it.
Absolutely.
I notice you're lifting it up a little bit off the tube when you're doing that, pulling it tight, shrinking it.
Pulling it up away from the bar. That's just going to help you get a smoother iron, because what tends to happen is that metal from the tube sucks up all the heat, so you don't really get the fabric as smooth as you want it. So I just lift it up, pull it tight away from that. Now that I have that, tight. I'm going to mark this corner here, just using the edge line pencil. And then go out 45 degrees from that.
Okay.
Just cut that with the pinky shears, which are somewhere. Same thing on the bottom side, except for I'm not going to worry about flipping it over and ironing it. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to glue down this tip here. And in order to get the fabric to lay down right, you're going to have to trim these seams.
Right.
Just to the edge of the tip. You don't want to go past it. And trim both seams, both of the seams. I just use normal scissors for that.
You don't cut the part that's hanging out off at this point?
No.
Yeah, you leave this part of the seam that's sticking out right here. You just leave that attached.
Yeah, you can take that off later.
Okay.
It's not going to cause any problems now. So we're going to glove up. And you're just going to take your brush and apply that polytack on the outside edge of that bar pretty generously.
Oh, you're doing right on the bottom of the flat here.
Yes.
You're not applying any up here.
No. After we flip it over and we've blown everything down, put it all down there, we'll apply some glue to the top side of it. But it doesn't need any glue along this edge right here, just that outside edge.
Okay.
You're going to want to work it in real good, work those wrinkles out. Ideally, it'll look black.
Again, we come back to the looking black. When the glue is fully saturated the fabric, it looks black.
And then I'm putting glue on top of that. I'm going to work it in. And that just helps it get a better bond.
Okay, so what he's done is he's applied glue on the bottom side of this. He stretched the fabric over it, got it glued, and then he added polytack on top of that, worked it in, and he's ready to...
Alright. So this side's good for now.
When do you glue that tube? Is that going to happen?
This is coming next.
Okay.
First thing we got to do, kind of want to pull it tight. See if you can get any of this bag out here by the by where the light goes in.
Right.
We're going to have to mark and cut around this horn here. So chances are won't make this mark right, cut right on the first time. I'm just holding the fabric up to it, laying it out nice and flat, and I'm just marking to the edge, just about as far down to where the horn kind of curves.
Okay.
And I'm going to cut it.
Using pinking shears again?
Yeah, using the pinky shears. I just cut all the way down to my mark, just because I can always cut more.
Again, it comes back to that, you can cut it a little more, but once you've cut it, it's done.
And now I'm just going to see how it lays out the way I have it cut now. Thinking maybe I can cut a little bit more. So I'm going to do maybe about 1, 2, maybe less. Both sides tied. And I want to cut it just a little bit more. Don't make this cut correctly, you don't have to panic, you can work around it. As long as you make sure this is glued down, you got the slack out of here, there's not too much extra slack in here, you can work around it, and there's going to be a patch that goes on that spot later.
Okay.
I only get this cut right, I don't know, 20% of the time. I think this is the second time I've done it in a month, so.
Cool.
I guess I just need a camera in front of me.
So you factory guys aren't perfect either.
Not even kind of. So now that we got that cut, we're free to pull the tension on here. We're gonna mark, pull the fabric nice and tight above the hinge. Just mark to the 2 outsides of the hinge there. To the top. Keep that same tension across. I forgot there's not another hinge right here. So you don't have to worry about that. You're going to want to fold it in half where you have your marks.
Right.
And I cut to the tip of that second tooth, so maybe 1½ teeth.
Okay.
And stop it right on that top mark where you put for the edge of the hinge. And cut just a little bit to the outside of your marks to the left and to the right.
Okay.
Just helps it to slide over the hinge a little better. If it's a little tight, you'll get little, you'll have a hard time getting your fabric to lay down right. I just kind of test it, make sure I had it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it looks nice. Okay.
Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to glue down this side.
Make sure your fabric's not hanging over on the bottom. I saw you tuck that under.
I just tucked it in, that way glue doesn't drip on it.
Okay.
It's not going to kill you to leave it there, but it's a little less messy. And we're just gluing it the same way we've glued everything else.
Okay. Right on the front.
Yep.
You're not gluing the top of the tube, you're just gluing the front of the tube.
Yep. And I just do it in sections. That way your glue doesn't dry out. And get it nice and tight. Pull out any wrinkles. You can pull it tight enough to where the glue's coming through the fabric, where you can see it beading out. And you know you got good saturation. Same thing, we're going to go back on top of it. Lift it up just enough to it. Get the glue back on the bar. Do it all over again. The glue is pretty responsive to temperature. So on a hot day, it'll get kind of lumpy and it'll.
I saw you kind of switching around and looking at it.
Yeah, I was just checking to see if it's still. It's kind of borderline right now. I might end up switching it out. What you can do, if it's too thick, it's not falling off that brush right away when you lift it up. put a little MEK in there, but I've kind of been babying this glue along for a while. Been working with it almost all day, so I'm gonna go and just get some new glue. I'm just gonna dump this in the trash.
Okay, so you can see what he was doing. He's actually taken and he's glued this tube in the front, glued it to the spar till about here, and this is his second section. So he glues it to the tube, then he comes over with polytack coming over the outside of it. He'll come back to this third section, he'll lift the fabric up, glue the third section. What you notice when he was stirring the polytack and lifting it up, he was looking for the polytack to drip off the brush. And as you work the polytack, it gets thicker and thicker and thicker. Pretty soon it doesn't drip off the brush, and it's time to throw it away and put new stuff in the container. You did hear him talk about, you know, if you're first starting, you can thin it a little bit with MEK, but he's thinned that one enough that it's time to start new. So you just have to make that call out there in the world that it's time to start with new polybrush. So. Well,
we got some new polytack.
Or polytack, I mean. Yeah.
Just call it glue.
Glue.
That's what we all call it. Let's get that on there. Just try and pull that nice and tight as close as you can to that horn there. Try and get your fabric laying. Ideally, it'll be laying right next to it. Chances are it's not going to happen.
Okay. Like you said, there's a patch that goes over that anyway, so.
Yeah. I'm a little bit off. Let's see if I can pull it in closer. One option, if you're not getting, if you have too much slack in here, you can trim it a little bit. Your X-Acto knife or a razor blade.
Okay.
I think that should work. And if by chance you did get your fabric close to that horn there, go ahead and try and polytack it to the horn if you can. Mine's not quite close enough. So what we're left with now is a section between the horn and the end bar.
Okay.
So, what I'm going to do is on this little bottom part of the horn, I'm going to mark to where that stops.
And you're looking at right now where that horn actually
Next to the
bends over and connects to the tube.
Yes. And I'm just pulling the fabric over that. And I'm going to cut to that length.
Oh, that looks nice.
A little bit of a pat stub here. cut it to the length of the bottom of the horn. You're going to mark to the width of the horn.
So you're going to have to take out a small piece of fabric there at the horn because of the thickness of the horn.
Yeah, and just a small piece so it'll lay around the horn nicely. Due to my first initial cut here being a little bit off, I have some excess fabric there that I'm just going to have to trim around and work with later.
Okay.
But that's okay. You're going to pull it, you're going to mark for your hinge. You're going to mark along the end bar here, just where the end bar meets that tube. You're going to follow that line.
Okay. I noticed that you scuffed that that bottom steering spring holder tube before you started the rudder, like we did.
Oh yeah, you're going to scuff everything before you do it.
The hinges and
the hinges, the horn, this end bar here. Anything that's going to be sticking out from the fabric, you're going to want to scuff.
so it'll accept paint later.
Yeah, I'll just give the paint something to stick to.
So you're going to repeat that same process with the hinge, with that hinge as you did the other one.
Yeah, you're just going to fold it, put along, maybe a little bit to the outside of your marks, and about a tooth and a half, maybe.
Okay.
Cut that out.
You're going to get a good clean fit around the horn, or around the hinge.
Yep. And then it's a little bit tight, but you're going to want to cut along that mark that you made on the end bar. However, you can find a way to get your scissors in there to make the cut. Do that.
I keep seeing you mark it, trim it, check it, mark it, trim it, check it.
Yeah, especially, you know, if you don't do this all the time, always double check each step that you do. Just to make
It's easier to cut more than it is to replace the whole fabric envelope.
Absolutely. Right now, with this medium fabric, it kind of frays. So I'm just kind of clipping off some of that frayed fabric along that hinge there. That's what I was doing. So now that you've got that all cut and laid out, you're just going to glue it down just like you did on the rest of the tube there.
Right.
We'll probably just have to work this around just to get it the way you want it to lay down. I put a little bit of glue on top of the bar in this section.
And on the horn too, it looks like.
On the horn, yeah, I'm putting it, there's a little corner where the fabric meets the horn there. I'm just trying to glue it down in there if I can. don't know if you can see it, but my fabric is laying up alongside the horn. That's just due to a miscut earlier.
Okay.
So I'm just going to mark alongside that edge, and I'm going to trim it. And ideally I should have done that before I glued it down. So I'm
Okay.
gonna flip it up again. So you get to learn from my mistakes.
Cool.
That's probably why they chose me to do this better. Okay, after you got that done, on this end bar here, you're just going to mark straight down.
And okay, and just trim the rest of it off.
Yeah, just trim that end of it off, because you're gonna want to fold it around and glue it to the other side. And here I have a little section where my fabric is overlapping itself.
Right.
So just for cosmetic reasons, you know, mark that and just kind of cut it off.
So when you flip it over, make sure you check your clothespins and your seams.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just kind of check that. You might not get it exactly back to the way you had it before. So now what we're going to do we're going to glue this tip here to the top of the line here.
Okay.
So the first thing I do is I take my iron and I just put it right on the edge there. Just kind of iron the fabric. Kind of helps it to conform to that bar.
It just basically does your fold right there.
Yeah.
So it goes over nice and square.
Just reinforces that fold. And doing your best to keep the top end of your fabric out of the way. However you can find a way to do that. You're going to apply glue to the top here. Flip this over and put it down. Just like on the ends of a stabilizer, or you've done an elevator, just like on the tip of an elevator.
Yeah, so this is the same technique basically as elevators, only it's a little more difficult because of the horns and stuff that are in the rudder. That's why we're doing a rudder instead of an elevator. Gives you the same basic technique, it's just the more difficult of the two.
You can do an elevator or a rudder, you'll have no problem with the elevator. I'm just applying a little bit of glue to the top of it. Okay. Now we're going to do the end board here. First thing I do is I hold it out and I iron it. And that gets it nice and smooth, and it helps it to lay over that bar without a lot of wrinkles.
Hey, Michelle.
Don't have to iron out too far, maybe just a couple inches. Maybe an inch and a half.
1.5 to 2 inches of iron there.
Yeah, I'd say 2 inches would be great.
That clean iron is really important.
That wire is going to be in the way a little bit. Just work around it. I kind of tuck it inside. The only problem with that is you got to remember that it's stuck in there.
It has to exit somewhere there.
Yes. You got that iron, you're going to lay it over. Again, the top fabric is going to be in the way a little bit. You just got to move it around. You're going to get out your compass.
Okay, let's stop for just a second. Let me see this compass. So this is just your genuine, go down to the stationery store and buy a compass and
Yeah.
hold a pencil.
That's just a standard compass.
Then you've got tape wrapped around the sharp point of it.
Yep, that's just so it doesn't rip up the fabric. And that's pretty much all it is.
Okay.
Pretty simple. And we're just gonna mark to the inside of
Get it
the
right
bar.
about here,
Yeah.
so they can see it.
Okay, yeah. And I'm just gonna find a rib. And I'm just gonna mark to where it meets that rib, basically.
Okay.
So then you're gonna want to hold that tight. Just mark along there.
So you preset the compass to hit it right here at the edge of this rib.
Yeah.
Just a
Oh,
second.
sure.
Video. So the compass, he's preset the compass. You can set this before you start, basically, to where the pencil mark will hit right at the edge where the weld is on this rib. So then when he gets ready to mark it, he takes the pointed end of the compass, pulls the fabric tight, runs it up and down the tube, and that gives him the mark that he's looking for on the fabric. So that make a nice straight cut, so you don't have an ugly looking seam underneath your fabric when you lay the top side over.
Absolutely.
So you're looking to make sure everything's stretched as tight as you can get it.
Yeah.
Because if you make that mark without it being tight, then it still makes a wavy line when you glue it over the top.
Absolutely. And that's what ironing it helps with that. So now I'm just going to cut along this line. When you cut, you're going to want to align your teeth up with the previous cut. That just makes it look nicer. It's a cosmetic thing. It doesn't leave you with any jagged looking teeth.
You get a uniform
Yeah, nice uniform cut.
pattern out of it, yeah.
I've never done this before, really. It can be learned. It's one of those processes that has there's a certain satisfaction that you have the time to invest in.
I see. How much India do you have in here?
So we're just marking around the horn here. just like we did on the other side. Except
Okay.
I'm remembering to cut off this excess fabric here before I glue it.
Okay.
The only difference.
So do you wrap that one around a little farther than the rest of them?
No, this one goes to the same. Just go to the top, just like normal, or to the inside of this bar. Just like you do on this bar.
Okay.
Now we're just going to apply glue to the top of this bar.
So you're just going to glue it, the fabric you just cut to the tube.
We're just going to glue that top part of that cut down to the bar. And when you're pushing it down, you want to push your palm. You kind of want to roll it over the bar. And that'll roll all the glue out of there so you don't end up with glue bubbles. Which probably inevitably you'll get some, but you can iron those out. But if you can minimize that, that's great.
And that's what a lot of the kit builders out there miss, this step where they don't actually get it rolled over, and they'll end up with glue bubbles under here, which transfer to the next piece of fabric. So you end up with a bubble that you can no longer get out because you left a bubble in the first piece of fabric. So you can see how he's rolling it over. He's rolling it that way so it's pulling the fabric tight.
Yeah. The more you can get out, the smoother you can get it now. The less time you're going to be spending on your final iron. And like Vince said, maybe sometimes there will be a bubble bad enough that the glue gets hard enough that you won't be able to get out. But
So you've got a bubble there, and you'll iron that bubble out before you glue the next piece over, right?
yeah, absolutely. Want to go over the top, get any of those teeth that are sticking up, pull them back down.
I see that when you put your glue away, you've got a towel that you put over it.
Yeah, and that just that prevents airflow from getting to it, which is gonna cause it to thicken.
Causes it to dry out more.
Yeah. Now I'm just cleaning my iron. I guess more or less that I have it. You don't necessarily need a clean iron for this step, but it's nice to have one.
Yo! I got all day.
So now what we're doing is we're just finding those glue bubbles
Who forgot what now?
and we're just pushing them out.
And you're going to roll those glue bubbles out to the, you're going to heat them up, and it's going to roll those glue bubbles out to the tube that has no fabric on it on the inside.
Yeah. Just rolling it out as best we can. It's better to do this early before the glue hardens. The heat from the iron will loosen the glue again, but it's just that much easier to do it now.
So you're basically going through and seeing where there's bubbles at, and he's ironing them this way so the polytack that's caught in here causing a bubble in the fabric, it rolls it out and the polytack ends up on the back side of the tube where you'll never see it.
My glue is already starting to harden, which is just making it that much more difficult to do. So just this morning I did this on an elevator that I had left out all night, and it was not pleasant. So, do this as soon as you can.
Takes a lot more heat once the glue's dry
Yeah, it takes
to
more
soften it.
So it takes more time, you're pushing harder. It's just easier to do it now.
Tape's coming off.
Okay. So now that we got that smoothed out, I'm just gonna glue this little end down.
Okay.
Exact same process. So when does this hit theaters?
Pardon?
When does this hit theaters?
Probably Thursday it'll be out for kit customers to view and see how you do it here at the factory.
Wow, just like that.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long to edit it because I don't edit much.
That's how to do it. Okay, so now we've got that glued down. Check it for any bubbles you might have. That was one of the rare times in my life that I didn't have to iron it.
No bubbles.
Yeah. Then what we're doing is you're just going to razor off the tip on this edge here. And on this, you zoomed in.
This you want to be careful.
That you're not trimming the other side of your fabric along with it. See, I got my fabric kind of glued on here a little bit.
You're just going to pull it loose.
Just going to pull it loose.
That would have been catastrophic had you just started trimming without looking at it.
That would have been a redo. Just get that out of there. Best you can. And then,
Again with the sharp razor blade.
yep, sharp razor blade. You're going to want to put your blade just along that bar. Being careful that you're not trimming the fabric on the bottom or the other half of the fabric. I'm just going to pull it along the edge of that bar.
It's going to give you a nice clean edge there that's not you're never going to see when he's done.
Absolutely. And I'm holding the fabric that I'm trimming with my thumb, my pointer finger. I'm using my middle finger to push the other fabric away. But whatever works for you, obviously. And it looks like we might be getting a different razor blade here pretty soon. Tried to recycle the last one, it didn't work out very well. Oh yeah, that's much better.
Looks like it's doing a better job.
It is. The medium fabric eats up razor blades pretty quick. And then okay, so that's off of there. You'll probably have a little bit of fabric that hangs over just the edge of that tip there. You can kind of cut it off a little bit.
Oh,
Being
okay.
careful not to cut too far that you're uncovering the bar.
Right.
And I kind of just iron it down. Now what we're going to do, we're going to glue down this side to the disc.
Okay.
So all you're going to do, put your poly tack on the outside there. Hold it tight. Make sure you got some weights on there so you don't end up pulling it off the table or whatever you have it on. Okay. Okay. Now we're doing the same thing on the tube that we did before.
So you're back to trimming around that horn just like you did on the other side.
My favorite part.
So what we're going to do, let's talk about this just a little bit because
Okay.
I'm not going to necessarily show them
Sure.
this in the repeat. So what he's going to do is he's going to mark that horn just like he did the other side. Mark this hinge, cut it out, cut the horn out. He's going to lay the fabric down and he's going to glue this fabric right along the edge just like he did the other side.
You're going to want to make sure you cut your mark on the horn first just so this fabric will lay down nice for that hinge.
Okay.
Being as far away as they are, it might not affect it, but
So you cut
better
the
safe.
horn first on this.
yeah, better safe than sorry. You want to cut to the edge of the horn that's closest to the fabric that you'll be using.
Okay.
I don't know if I said that last time. And being that I'm right-handed, this is not working out very well.
So what he's saying is when you mark the edge of the horn, you're going to want to mark the edge closest to the fabric that you're using. So this fabric is on this side of the horn, so he's going to mark this side of the horn edge.
Okay. You want to do this, man?
Then you're going to cut the horn.
Yeah, cut your mark. Careful not to cut past it. You can always cut more later. Okay. Test it, see how it lays out.
So I noticed that you pushed down a little bit here on the fabric. So you push it down a little bit, and so when you glue it, you have a little bag here that you normally.
Yeah. In order to get rid of that bag, I'm actually going to cut it a little bit longer.
And then it leaves the chance of having a.
Yeah, you want to be careful about that. You don't want to leave too much bag in there. What I did is I didn't mark it long enough.
Again, it comes back to the ability to be able to cut it again, rather than try to sort out why or how to fix the big gap at the end.
So now we're marking the hinge.
The 1.5 tooth again, both sides. You're going to fold the fabric in half, cut a tooth and a half, and then cut the center out of it.
Yeah. Just gotta glue it down.
You can see how, put that back down.
Oh, sure.
Again, you can see how the hinge fits, same as the other side. It's going to be exactly the same. Now he's going to start gluing it down. The key to the fabric again is what you see under the fabric. If you see a bubble there, you're going to see that under the fabric forever. If you don't take care of it in this stage, it's going to be there forever till you recover the airplane. So, you know, take your time, spend some time worrying about the wrinkles and bubbles, and you'll have a nicer looking fabric job when you're done at the end. Structurally, there's nothing wrong with glue bubbles under the fabric. It's just that we're looking for you guys to do as nice a job as you possibly can on your kits. So, and you hate to have a wrinkle underneath the fabric that you can see under the paint. So, and a lot of this technique of gluing around the tubes is the same as you saw in the elevator video if you've watched that. You know, you wrap it around, you glue it down, wrap it around, mark it, trim it, and stretch it tight. So,
yeah, this technique, minus the horn, is exactly the same.
right. So the elevators will go on the same clothespins, same everything. You're going to have hinge areas in it. So
The difference with the elevator is you'll position your seam on top of the bar,
right,
and you want to position it so that it's actually on the bottom
right.
side of the elevator.
So is it time now to run the wire out?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So I got it glued in about as close as I can. And what you're going to want to do, feel underneath there, kind of pull the wire straight down.
Right.
And mark just on top of the wire, just make a mark to the inside of that bar.
Okay, so your mark on your wire is going to be just to the inside of the tube here?
Actually, completely inside of the bar.
Okay, completely inside of the tube.
Yes.
So you're gonna cut a 2-tooth hole. Are you gonna fold it over again?
Yeah, I'm folding it over. I'm doing about 2 at a time. Fold it over. And you know, cut a hole, see if it pulls through. If it doesn't pull through very well, make it a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Now before you do that, you're going to want to tape all your wires together.
Okay, so now you've got the wire run through the fabric there?
Run through the fabric. Laying out, it's not causing any tension on the fabric, so we're good to go. Got a little bit of slack in here that I don't like, so I'm just going to check with someone who knows more than me about how to deal with that.
Okay.
Would you trim that?
So we brought in the big dog here with Armando.
Or I just kind of pull it?
Well, you just want to go this far, right?
They're having a conference because there was a little too much bag behind the rudder, so. Okay, now that that's
Cheers.
over with.
I'll take it if you want. So we got that nice and tight along there.
I see you put the clamp on there, so you got to pull it to where you wanted it to be, and you're just clamping it for the time being to hold it?
Yeah, with the medium fabric, sometimes the glue doesn't hold it there as long as possible. You run out of battery. So the clamp helps it hold in place. And now I'm just going to mark around this hinge and this end bar just like the other time.
And then when you turn this over, you're going to use your compass to mark the tube, same as you did last time.
Yep.
The only difference is you're going to use pinking shears to cut it, fold it over and glue it.
And on this one, you're going to mark on the bottom side just to the edge of this bar here. You're going to mark that and use pinking shears, glue it down. And on this, you're going to glue to the top of the bar,
Right.
not the inside.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
Okay, I'm going to go change batteries and come back to watch the shrinking part of this.
Okay.
So we're back to finishing the rudder cover here. And basically what's happened is Pierce has gone through, and when we ended we were wrapping the final seam around, and you can see that it has been completed, and the seam has been glued along the top of this rib and down the right about where the fabric would touch the spar, all the way down. You can see the wire coming through. That's how your wire is going to need to be. You can see how it's cut around the horn and the tail wheel steering tube. Also, we've gone through and trimmed this up on the end. There's no metal showing, there's fabric on everything, and you can see how it's all been glued together. So So now what we're going to do is we're going to shrink the fabric up tight, go through, clean up all the seams, and I'll show you this. You also notice that we still have all of the clothespins on, keeping the seam where it needs to be while we shrink it. So here we go.
So actually, first thing we're going to do is we're going to put glue along the rim of that light fixture.
Okay, so right on the outside around the edge of that light fixture, you're going to add glue.
Just going to get that on there, and that helps keep it from pulling. Ideally, we would have done this earlier. Just right when you finish, line the fabric, put that glue on there.
That would allow it to be dry by now.
Yeah.
So you can see I'm working that in. And it's going to dry. Make sure you wipe everything off the outside of it. Keep it clean.
And you're going to want it set probably at least 5 minutes. Just as long as you can feel it and it doesn't feel sticky.
Okay.
So.
And you're adjusting all the clothespins so the seam's right in the middle?
Yeah, and you're not always going to be able to adjust the seam. Right here, it's pulled a little bit to the other side, and I won't be able to fix that. Do they have these irons?
Yeah, they've got, most of them are buying those irons right now.
Oh.
As you can see, we're getting ready to start ironing the wrinkles out. Believe it or not, this thing is going to go tight. So, you know, as far as worrying about making sure it's stretched absolutely tight, you know, this is going to work just fine. So
We're going to start out, the first iron is going to be at 250 degrees. And what you want to watch for on this iron is not pulling your seam in. It's going to be really easy to do, so just watch the clothespins, see if they come up, watch that seam. I start in the area that has the most slack. I just do a little bit here by the tube, by the inboard. So just do that, tighten up a little bit. I'll find another area with a lot of slack. Get around the tip here. This is the same process as on the elevators as well.
yeah, once you learn this, the elevators are going to go easier than the rudder. So the guys out there should probably do an elevator first,
Yeah.
using this technique, and then go to the rudder after they've done both elevators.
That would be a good idea. Once you get this side tight, don't worry about this top part for now. I'm going to flip it over. Do the same thing on the other side. Just cleaning off a little bit of glue right down here. Be tough to get the iron in this section here between the horn and the end bar. Just kind of get it as best you can. You can always go over it with your smaller iron as well.
Okay.
Now that you've got both sides tight, you can go ahead and get the top side here. Get as tight as you can for now around that light fixture.
Okay. Well, at this point, you're just about done being able to move that seam, right?
Just about. It'll still move a little bit. I pulled it a little bit to the other way. And I mean, you can still adjust it afterwards. After you've got it all iron tight, you can go through with the small iron and pull it certain places and adjust it. I'll show that in a minute. So once you got both sides tightened, go ahead and start taking some clips out. And iron the sections you couldn't get due to the clips.
I notice you're pulling a few clips and then iron it, pull a few clips and iron it.
Yeah, I think that kind of helps keep that seam in place.
So Pierce, you started working back here in the cover shop about 2 months ago?
Let's see, about a month and a half ago, probably.
About a month and a half. So this is your third rudder that you've ever covered?
I think it might be my fourth.
Your fourth. So, I mean, it's not too far away from what the guys out in the world are doing, other than you have information you're able to pull from the expertise of the guys that are here. So
yeah, that's right. Okay. So I have a little bit more bag here than I'd like by the end bar. And I'm afraid that when I tighten it, it's going to pull the fabric away from the bar. So I'll apply some glue on there and glue it to the bar. It's something that I should have done in the first place, but forgot. Make sure you get some glue right here.
oh, so you're actually gluing it to the fabric right here around this the tube.
Right to that bar there, the tube. I don't want it to go anywhere.
When you tighten the fabric, it's going to want to pull it away from there.
Yeah. And we don't want that. That would be bad. So one thing you can do at this stage, we just got that first iron on there at 250, is a few spots like around this light fixture that are difficult to get completely tight
Right.
with that larger iron. And the smaller iron should be set at 350 anyway, which is what our next iron is going to be, so we can just do our second iron on this spot.
Right hand or left hand?
Get any of those wrinkles out.
So you're using the iron to warm up the glue in spots and pop it away so it all lays flat?
Well, there's just this large flat iron won't get to the fabric in some spots, some
Right.
corners of that, and so there will just be wrinkles in there. The smaller one has that tip on it, so it's more maneuverable.
Okay, let me zoom in because I can see that wrinkle that you're working on right there. Touch that, just touch that spot where you're going to hit the iron, not with your fingers, so I
Okay,
can
so
see.
we're going to do right here.
Yeah.
So with the iron then, alright. Now another thing that's good to do is to check out your seam. There's going to be spots where it's pulling to one way or another. So I like to set it up so I can get a good look at it. See right along here, it's pulling this way pretty bad.
Right.
So the way we fix that. Pull it back. Now it pulls back, it's going to be slack.
Oh, you're pulling it back with your fingers and holding it, and then using the iron to pull any slack out.
Sometimes it's easier to pull this way. Get a better grip on it.
Interesting. So you're actually just forcing the fabric back around and then iron.
And ironing that slack there, yeah.
Cool. You're probably never ever going to get it perfect. You
No.
get it lined up pretty close.
Yeah, you can get it pretty close, but every once in a while you'll hit a spot where no matter how many times you pull it up, it just slides right back.
You want to take the edge off in a hurry.
MEK, right in the arm. That'll take the edge off in a hurry. So I guess the key is, as you're doing this, don't get the iron close to your thumb because it's warm.
Yeah, that's always something to keep in mind.
I think this is probably a step that most guys miss when they start doing that, is the attention to where the seam is.
I can see that.
And that's something that it doesn't make it any better structurally, but it sure makes it look nicer.
Yeah, it's totally cosmetic, but you can tell once the rudder's all painted and ready, you can see the difference. This is why it's important to have those clothespins on each side of these ribs. It's much easier, or it's much more difficult to adjust your seam over a rib because you can't really slide your fingers through it.
Oh yeah.
Oh, we got a pointed semi up? Yeah.
Good. Now that you got that where you want it, you notice there's going to be little wrinkles alongside here, on top
Right.
of between the two seams.
That's where they overlap the stitch seam, and now that you've stretched it, it's bagged the material in between the stitches.
So you can just go over that with the iron. Some of those kind of harden up on themselves, so you can't really get them all out. You can get most of them out. This isn't quite pulling up the way I want it to. Also noticing it's kind of stretched out here. So just leave it. Or do you want the weights fell off? I could hold it and you could iron it. That's easier. Or you could just manhandle.
Or I could.
Nothing to it. Thank you.
I sent the DXF and the print to Rodney, and I never got a confirmation back, which usually I do get one.
We got that where we want it. We're going to go ahead and do that second iron.
Okay.
And that would be at 350 degrees.
No problem.
Go ahead and make sure you got your seam where you want it. Make sure you got all the wrinkles out at the top.
Yeah, the square ones. Rush it out. Yeah, no.
Now, like I mentioned earlier, for spots between like the horn and the end bar where you can't really get with the larger iron, you can use a smaller iron on.
That came out nice and tight. So now you're setting your iron at 350 degrees.
350 degrees.
This will be the final shrink.
Yes, it will. Kind of want to go pretty slowly.
I see the fabric steaming a little bit, so it's actually heating the moisture out of it.
Yeah? Yeah, it would be.
So I'm not showing every single step of this, you know, if it's a repeat step. So how long does it actually take you to do a rudder? From start to finish if I wasn't here videoing?
Maybe 2 hours.
Okay, to get to where we are now,
Somewhere around that.
2 to 3 hours.
Yeah, I would say that. Alright.
So the final shrink is done. Are you gonna take the little iron and touch your seams like in here, where on the other side, where or do you just kind of leave that?
I just kind of leave that. I mean, with these you might want to wait until they're doped and then touch over them.
So you put the poly brush on the
Yes.
paint, and then you go over and kind of knock
And
these
then
down.
kind of knock them down a little bit. I mean, you don't necessarily have to, but it is nice to have them smooth before you put that tape on there. What you want to do now is just kind of MEK out any excess glue you might have around the inboard.
So you'd actually take MEK and rub it on any spots that have excess glue and smooth everything out.
Yeah, make sure you have a glove on and put it on a rag. And trim any excess fabric. I have excess fabric down here with the end bar, trim that. And then it's ready to be stitched.
Cool. Well, Pierce, thank you much for showing us how to do a rudder. It's going to help everything out in the world.
Thank you.